God bless you, World Missionary Evangelism family. It's a blessing and an honor to have you back with us. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Whatever time of you may be watching us, whether it be morning, evening, or afternoon, God bless you and thank you so much. And if this video is a blessing to your life, if God is speaking to you through what we're presenting here at World Missionary Evangelism, go ahead and push that like button. Go ahead and share this video. Share whatever platform you're using. Extend the Word of God. Share it with somebody. Let it be a blessing to their life as well. Well, today we're looking at 1 Kings chapter 16. 1 Kings chapter 16 tells us the story of several kings. Now we'll be looking at one in particular, and that's King Zimri. Now, Zimri is a very interesting king, and we don't read too much about him, but he was one of the kings of Israel. And he was a king who was very corrupt. He was a king who seized the opportunity. He got there through manipulation, through trying to overthrow the king. Well, he did overthrow the king that was there. The king, and we read this story in 1 Kings chapter 16, beginning in verse 8. And the Bible tells us that Elah was the king. And Zimri assassinated him. Now, Zimri was a general. And he assassinated him because he wanted to seize power. He wanted to take control. And the Bible tells us that he killed him, and the Bible speaks of his reign being a reign of 7 days because the people wouldn't put up with it. The people just wouldn't have him. They had had enough of his corruption. They had had enough of his deception, and they said, enough is enough. And they assembled a general, and they came. And how did he reign as king? Well, the first thing he did when he assassinated the king and put himself in the king's place was he killed all of the men in the palace. And the people had had enough. And they came and they assembled a general, and they said, we're going to remove you as king. And his reign only lasted 7 days. When you try to force the hand of God, when you try to make things happen, when you yourself try to force things, and I'm so amazed on how people try to force God into their will. They try to force God to do what they want to do or what they feel is right. I give this example. Not too long ago, I had I bought an exercise machine, and I tell people they're great for clothes hangers. They make great clothes hangers. But I bought an exercise machine, and I had somebody else assemble it for me. I didn't assemble it. Somebody else assembled it. I'm not good at assembling or building or putting things together. I guess I don't have the patience to do that. So I had somebody else do it for me. And during the process they were assembling it, there was a small area where a little screw would go into. And it was a tiny screw that was supposed to go into that area. And as I came and this kind of put the machine together, that tiny screw. And so as I was looking, the person who was assembling it was trying to put a big screw into a tiny area. They were trying to force that big screw into that tiny area, and it wouldn't fit. And I told them, you know, I don't think this is going to fit. I don't think this goes into that area. And I remember their response was a very comedic response, but they said, I know it doesn't fit, but I'm going to make it fit somehow. Somehow I'm going to make it go inside. And so that's how people are today. They try to force their way into things. They try to force things to happen. They try to force the hand of God. They know it's not God's will, but they're assuming, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to, I know it's not right, but I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it work. And so we try to force God's hand in things that aren't in His fit. And so just like that person was trying to fit this big screw into a small area and it just wouldn't go in. There are certain things that just won't go in. And this Zimri tried to force himself in. He tried to make himself the ruler over God's people. And the people had had enough. They said, this man is corrupt. This man is bloodthirsty. He had killed everybody in sight. And the people said, we're not gonna take it. We're not gonna have him as king over us. And so they came and they confronted him. They assembled their own general and they said, we're going to oust him by any means necessary. And they began the process to oust him, to get rid of him, because they saw in him a corrupt individual. They saw a man who was bloodthirsty. They saw a man who tried to force his way in. And when we try to force ourselves in, when we try to make things happen by force, it just doesn't work. You see, when God is in the forefront, when God is behind what you're doing, there's going to be a smooth transition. Sometimes things, you'll have some bumps in the road. You'll have some things that will happen on the way. There will be tests and there will be trials. There will be valleys and there will be low points. But God will see you through it. God will help in the transition. God will help maintain things smoothly. God will make things happen. And you don't have to force things. You don't have to force things to happen. And we're going to come back and we're going to continue to look at this story of King Zimri, the king who reigned for 7 days. King for a week. But his reign came to a close. And we're going to look at this when we come back.
Just as it is in America, the key to escaping poverty is education. World Missionary Evangelism has long recognized the importance of education and has emphasized it to the children that we save via our child sponsorship programs and Food for Hunger programs. We have established schools, and these schools provide the basic education these children need to begin to escape the poverty that has ensnared their families, often for generations. What can you do to help us educate children? In many cases, we need new schools. World Missionary Evangelism also needs books and supplies. Children have to have school uniforms in many nations just to attend schools. And of course, there's the need for things like backpacks. How can you get involved? Find out the various costs of providing a child with things like school supplies, backpacks, a desk, a school uniform, or perhaps even an education at a university or college. An education builds a bridge between hopelessness and hope. It provides a future where dreams can be realized. It also positions a child to become a leader as an adult, and in that leadership role, lift his family and his country out of the bonds of poverty. You can begin right now by supporting programs at World Missionary Evangelism that emphasize education.